I want to take you on a little bit of a time travel journey, if you will, this morning. A little bit of a timeline journey, if you will, about yourself. And I want to start off with this idea of the sunset. Just quickly, everybody in this room, raise your hand if you've done your goals for this year coming up. Have you done your goals for this year? All right, good. Now, I'm going to set up the timeline here. This is going to be your past, just for a second. Everybody, where is this? I'll try that again. This is your where? Past. Good. This is good. This is actually your moment. This is your present. This is your what? Present. Good. This is your what? Outstanding. So here we go on this timeline. And we take a look at this timeline. The sunset's actually in the where? Future. Very good. Now, I love to go to Perth in Western Australia. I also love to go to California. When I go to both those places, I sit and I watch the sun go down over the ocean. And my favorite spot is, there's a favorite moment where it gets about that big, and then all of a sudden it goes, bip, and it just disappears. And it's just this cool moment in the future, this sunset where I believe I have great clarity about things in my life. It was interesting because I had this professional basketball player in Australia come to see me, and he was 30 years old. He'd been married for 2 years. He was 6'8", very good-looking guy. He was having some trouble in his marriage. And I said, mate, what I want to do now is something called chunk up and chunk down. And he said, what? I said, stick with me a second. I said, I want to take you through chunk up, chunk down. Now, by the way, I do conferences all the time, and recently I did a conference. It was a bit like this, first conference after a big night out the night before. And this guy raised his hand, he goes, Chris, I chunked up outside this hotel last night, dude. I was like, no, dude, that is not what I mean. I'm going to talk about this idea of chunk up things and chunk down things. Chunk up things and chunk down things. I want to talk about this idea about the way we think. Chunk up things. This basketball player was telling me about arguments with his partner. He was telling me about these things. He was talking about stress over money. Raise your hand if you ever had an argument with your partner. Raise your hand if you ever had stress over money. Now, these things are pretty common. And then all of a sudden he was telling me about he's frustrated with her friends. He's frustrated with the in-laws. All these different things which are chunked down little things. And I asked him the question. I said, mate, stop for a second. I said, is Jane the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, yes or no? He looked at me and said, I don't know. I said, all right. So if I chunk you up and ask you the question, is this the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, yes or no? You say, I don't know. I said, let me chunk you up a little bit further. I said, do you want to spend the rest of your life with a male or a female? He took a surprisingly long time to answer the question. I thought we were going a whole nother direction. Finally, he said female. I said, fine, well, let's chunk back down. Is Jane the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, yes or no? He said, man, I just told you, I don't know. I said, all right. I said, here's the deal. The reason you don't know is I asked you the question in the moment. And in the moment, we have no clarity. Our clarity is in the future. Our clarity is in the future. So I said, mate, here you are 30 years old. I said, let me take you 50 years into the future. Now you're 80 years old. You're sitting in front of your open fire with a glass of wine, and you're looking back at the last 50 years of your life. The reason you're looking back at the last 50 years of your life is your wife just passed away. And I said, as you look back at the last 50 years of your life, let me ask you a question. As you think about everything you've done in your life, was Jane the person you spent that time with, yes or no? I said, mate, you're 30 years old. Go to where you're 40 years old. I said, now you've got an 8-year-old son playing his first ever basketball game. And as you walk into the gym and you watch him doing layups to start the game, and there you are as they're doing pre-game warm-ups, and you're watching your child do something with the goosebumps that just go through you when you watch your child do anything at all. As there you are watching your child do these layups, and the siren sounds and starts your game. As you take a seat to watch your son play this game, I said, who's sitting next to you? Is Jane with you enjoying this moment, yes or no? He looked at me and he went, boom, and he answered the question. He had total clarity. Our clarity is into the future. Now you can try this at home. I challenge you, when you go home, do you go home tonight? Go home tonight and sit down with your partner. Sit down with your partner, look at them. You might need a glass of wine for this. Sit down with your partner and say, sweetheart, darling, how do you think the relationship's going at the moment? At which time they'll go, did you cheat on me in Orlando? Assure them that you did not cheat on them in Orlando and that everything else is okay. And ask the question, let me ask you something. How do you think the relationship's going at the moment? More often than not, a lot of times, in many cases, what you're going to get is something like this. They're going to go, it's good. It's busy. You're in real estate, and there's a lot going on. And with the kids and with life, and I suppose I wish I had more time for myself. And but it's good. It's fine. It is. It is. I think it's fine. It is fine. There's no truth in fine. How's business? Fine. There's no truth. There's no solutions in fine. Try this. Sweetheart, darling, let's go 2 months into the future. And 2 months from right now, you pick up the phone and you ring your best friend. You ring your best friend up and you say these words: I have never been happier in my relationship than I am right now. Sweetheart, for you to say those words, for those words to come out of your mouth, what did I do? What did you do? What did we do together? And you hope they don't say, for me to say those words, I'm in a relationship with the pool guy now. Truth is in the future, and it's amazing. It works in a business context as well, by the way. Chunk up things, chunk down things. Raise your hand if you've ever had an argument with a boss in the past, disagreed with a policy, passed over for promotions, too much paperwork, frustrated with coworkers, all the things. I could stop and we'd keep going. I could chunk you up. I could say, let me ask you something. Is this a business you actually want to be in? Yes or no? In fact, I could chunk you up further. Is this the industry you want to, ultimately you want to be in? If the answer, well, I don't know. Is it yes? Maybe? How do we find out? Where do we go? Well, let me ask you something. 1 year from now, for nothing to have changed in your life, for you to go 1 year from now and have nothing change, how do you feel about that? For you to go 5 years from now, and for you to feel like you did everything you wanted to do over the last 5 years, what did you do? Our clarity is in the future. I challenge you to chunk up. Because the reality is this, no matter whether we're talking about business or whether we're talking about relationships, if we chunk up, and the answer to the question, by the way, is yes, this is actually the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, then you know what? Even though those little things are frustrating, those chunk down things are frustrating, you'll work them through. You will. Because the big picture's right. In the industry context, if the big picture's right, you'll work those things through. Ultimately, we'll get through this because it's what you want to do. But if, by the way, the big picture, the answer is no, in either context, those little things, those chunked down things, are going to be the things you complain about, carry on about, talk about, bitch about on a day-to-day basis. I challenge you to think about, where's your focus? Are you chunked up or are you chunked down?
Chris Helder.